What's up? Today I'm just going to do a quick vocal mixing tutorial. I've been getting a few comments and questions about how to mix your vocals mostly through my Facebook page. So I'm just going to go through how I mix my vocals on my latest tutorial, the J. Cole KOD type song tutorial. So so this is what the vocals sound like.
Innovate, giving a fuck if they finna hate. Sour like lemonade, you get no sympathy, bitch. I be going and feeling great.
That's with all the effects. So I'm going to take off all of the effects here. And just this. And I can't hear it. Well, I can't. Is it linked? No, it's not. So we'll link it here.
Pick up the pen and I innovate, giving a fuck if they finna hate. Sour like lemonade, you get no sympathy, bitch. I be going and feeling great. What is you telling me?
Okay.
I just be killing shit. Catch me.
So that's without any effects on it. So I'm going to go through the effects I put on it, and I'm going to explain why I did what I did to the best of my ability, and try to make sense of it for you. So the first thing that I did here was I put a EQ on it just to cut the lows. And just as a quick note, you don't need to have any of these plugins, any of these effects or anything that I'm using. You can use your own versions, the stock FL Studio or whatever DAW that you have. I'm sure that you can figure out how to make it work for you. But first off, what I did on the main vocal is I cut the lows to 90 hertz and I boosted some of the high mids at around 2.5 kilohertz. Then what I did was I routed the main vocal to two separate tracks here, main wet, main dry. And on each of these, I put an exciter and a compressor. The way that I linked it to these was that I derouted the main from the master by clicking this arrow. And then I routed it to here by clicking on this arrow like that, clicking on this one like that. And then I went to these ones and I clicked it to a main bus here by clicking on this arrow, clicking on this arrow. And I made sure that these were both disconnected from the master. And this one is also disconnected from the master, but just so we can hear it, I'll connect it to the master. So, okay. So basically what I did with these, this is called parallel compression. And what I did with these is on the wet channel, I put on an exciter and I turned up some of the knobs just to get it, or some of the sliders to get it to sound the way that I liked it. And I put on a compressor and I used the aggressive preset and I made sure the ratio is 100 to 1. I pulled down the threshold a bit to make sure that it's compressing really hard. Fast attack, very slow release. And on the dry, I put the exact same effects on it, but I'm making sure that it's not doing anything. There's all the sliders are at 0, and right here, no compression is happening. And the reason for that is that when you put effects on this one, and if there were no effects on this one here, if it wasn't going through the same effects, there would be a slight delay in the signal, so it wouldn't match up properly. So put these on here. So basically what I did was I had this and I just brought up the wet until I got it to sound the way that I liked it. So I have some of the dry signal mixed in with the wet signal, so that the uncompressed and the hard compressed kind of get in there together, and it makes it sound good.
Pick up the pen and I innovate, giving a fuck if they
What's going on there? Oh.
hate. Sour like lemonade, you get no sympathy, bitch. I be going and feeling great. What is you telling me? I just be killing shit. Catch me a felony. Snap it like celery. Mumbling rappers done fucked up my melody.
Okay. So that I like how that sounds there. So we'll keep that. And basically just all the compression does is it evens out the signal makes the vocals sound more even and not so all over the place in terms of volume. So on the main bus here, I put a EQ on it. I just played around with it. There's no real formula. You just kind of play around with it to get it to sound the way that you want it. I put another compressor on it just to even it out a bit more. But here the threshold is a lot higher than it was on the last one. And the ratio is a lot lower. So it's 6-1. I put a limiter on it. I limited it at -4 decibels and just pulled up the gain until it started limiting.
Pick up the pen and I innovate. Giving a fuck if they finna hate.
See,
sour like lemonade, you get no sympathy.
That red there means it's doing its job. I put a de-esser on it to help take out some of the harsh S sounds. So this is without the de-esser.
Pick up the pen and I innovate. Giving a fuck if they finna hate. Sour like lemonade, you get no sympathy. Bitch, I be going and feeling great.
And with it.
What is you telling me? How this be killing shit? Catch me a felony. Snap it like celery.
It's a little, it takes out some of the harshness of the S sounds. All right, so from here, I'll put up a diagram that shows exactly what I'm doing and how I'm routing these things, because some people could make sense of this better if they see it laid out. So I'll draw that up and I'll lay that over the screen somewhere. But from here, what I did is I split this channel further into a main vocal delay, a main vocal reverb, and a main vocal imager. And the reason I did this is because, and I didn't just put them on like the main channel or this main bus here, is because if you route the main vocal to their own effects channels, you have more control over the effect. And I'll explain why that is. So here's the main delay. When you route the main bus to this delay track, you now have the option to put an EQ on it, and it can affect what frequencies you get in the delay. So without the EQ, the whole thing.
Mumbling rappers done fucked up my melody. Fuck up the vibe, feeling alive. Give me a piece of the pie.
But with the EQ on, see here, I'm cutting out all the lows, and I'm just leaving the high mids and the highs. So now it sounds like this with that low cut.
Bitch, you alive? Bet you gonna listen to this when your business expire.
See, it's more subtle that way, and it doesn't get all muddied, and I like the way that sounds better. And you also have control over how much delay that you're using. So here there's none.
Pick up the pen and I innovate.
And you can slowly bring it in.
Sour like lemonade, you get no sympathy. Bitch, I be going and feeling great. What is you telling me? How this be killing shit? Catch me a felony.
And the same thing goes for the reverb here. So we were using the stock Fruity Reverb 2, and I have it cranked up on the wet, size cranked up, high cut cranked up. And I also have an EQ here and doing the same sort of thing, cutting out the lows and leaving the high mids, and highs. And this is how that sounds.
Pick up the pen and I innovate. Giving a fuck if they finna hate. Sour like lemonade.
And same thing goes here. You can just bring it in.
Get no sympathy, bitch. I be going and feeling great. What is you telling me? How this be killing shit? Catch me a felony. Snap it like celery. Mumbling rappers done fucked up my melody.
And same thing for the imager here. EQ on it. I cut out to the mids on the low cut. And then I put this isotope imager on it.
Pick up the pen and I innovate.
To give it more a bit wider of a feel. But if you don't have this imager, you can accomplish the same sort of thing with a stock plugin from Fruity Loops, this Fruity Stereo Shaper. I got an imager here just to show you that it is doing what the other thing was doing. So this is without the Stereo Shaper.
Pick up the pen and I innovate. Giving a fuck if they finna hate.
See, notice how thin it's in mono right now. This is with the Stereo Shaper.
Pick up the pen and I innovate. Giving a fuck if they finna hate.
And it basically looks the exact same as it did with the imager here. And the way that I accomplished this was I went to a preset here called Stereo Eyes. And the Stereo Eyes preset gives an image like this, just straight straight preset from the list.
Pick up the pen and I innovate.
See, that's a little bit too wide. So what I did was I cranked this up to around 80%, and it looks like this.
Pick up the pen and I innovate.
And that's basically it. So you can get the exact same sort of effect from a stock plugin. So that's again goes to the point that you don't need all of these specific effects that I'm using. I'm just showing you, I'm trying to communicate concepts so that you can apply these to your own scenario, your own situation, and try to, make it work, whatever works best for you, whatever you like. It's subjective, really. So you don't have to create the exact same thing. You don't even have to lay it out the same way that I'm laying these things out here. This is just an example of what I do. And then I route everything to a main bus, and I make sure that this one is routed to the master, but everything else isn't. See, so when this thing isn't lit up over here, it means it's not linked to the master channel. So all of these aren't linked to it, but this one is. And then I put a limiter on this one and had it at -4 decibels. And yeah, that's it basically. And I do the same thing with the beat. I put the beat at -4 as well. And then I also sometimes put an EQ on the beat to kind of carve out if my vocals aren't coming through the way I want it to. I kind of carve out parts in the beat that where I want my vocals to shine through. See, that's basically that. And it sounds like this all together.
Pick up the pen and I innovate. Giving a fuck if they finna hate. Sour like lemonade, you get no sympathy, bitch. I be going and feeling great. What is you telling me? How this be killing shit? Catch me a felony. Snapping like celery. Mumbling rappers don't fuck with my melody.
So yeah, that's basically it. I hope that this tutorial was informative in some way and helps you with your own mixes and recordings and stuff. And yeah, that's it. Peace.